What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys. Well, I've been following and tracking this data for a while, and thought I would do a video on it because I think we can draw a relatively reasonable conclusion, and I would love to know if you guys are thinking along the same lines or maybe can provide some different insight into why I might be looking at things the wrong way. So, I like to look at the two metrics here on Peak Monsters. So shout out to Peak Monsters. This is the dashboard tab, which would be the daily average players or active accounts, as well as the total number of battles. Now, I'm looking here at the last month, and I want you to notice a couple of things. Well, actually, let's just go to the 14 days. So over the last 14 days, and we'll call it maybe the last 10 days, you can see that battles have dropped significantly and have been relatively consistent. We'll say, what is this, 2.4 million battles, 1.9, 1.5, right? So we've had, after this drop off here, it's been relatively consistent below 2 million battles per day. Yet we see a bunch of, kind of spikes within the amount of active players. So the first assumption that we make, or conclusion that we draw, is that active accounts does not equal accounts that are playing battles. It's just somebody probably logged into the account, and maybe transfer cards, maybe combine cards. Who knows what the case is. But when we look out on a longer time frame here, there's a couple of things that I want to call out, and let's see if we'll go back to the monthly. Okay, so if we look at the 3-month. There we go. Let's look at the last month. So we can see here, what's this? Valentine's Day. We had a huge spike in daily active players, 232,000 daily active players. You look at Valentine's Day here, and you can see that the battles were actually lower. So just because a bunch of accounts were accessed that day doesn't mean that there were more battles. So again, just leading to the theory that people are logging in and doing something with accounts, right? But they're doing something with accounts, but they're not necessarily playing battles. Again, this is the conclusion that I'm drawing here, is that a lot of these accounts are getting consolidated. And I think what we saw over here, you see, there's no easy way to show this because it's a little bit more than a month, but you can see before we get to like roughly a month ago, we saw a massive drop off, right, in the battles or amount of battles over time. Once the soulbound war cards were introduced, we saw a massive drop off. Then they increased and obviously have dropped off again. Yet when we look at the daily active accounts, we see a massive drop off here. Then it picks up with the amount of battles, but then it kind of just jumps up and around, which. Again, same conclusion as always, that the amount of people accessing their accounts is not equal to the amount that are actually going through and battling. So we are in an interesting position now where we see, like, again, here's 214, right? Here's another one that stands out, and let's actually go back to the 30-day. So here's 214, here is 221, right? And 221, we're already starting to see a massive drop off. This is the 2.4 million after we had stuff that was over 4 million, right? Yeah, so this is 4.7 million. So we see that drop off. 223, so we have almost 200,000 daily active players, but then 223 is actually one of the lowest, only 1.5 million battles within the last 30 days or so. Now we're at a point where we are seeing, or at least for a little while, we saw 100,000, 98,000, right? So in my mind, had this kept going, I would have said, well, maybe we have like 100,000 players now, 100,000 accounts that are running. But I think people are starting to see the value of playing at the higher levels. So once again, we see massive amounts of active players increasing all the way up, 160, 180, 200, yet the number of battles are staying the same, which again leads me to believe that the pattern we may expect in the near future, and again, this is the speculation, right? The pattern that we may see is we may drop significantly below 100,000 players, right? Because if more consolidation is starting to happen, then once that consolidation is done, the number of battles hasn't really changed. Well, we might, once people are done messing around with their accounts, is what I'm trying to say, right? Transferring cards, doing whatever they need to, and they no longer need to log into those accounts. They're going to have all the battles being played in, one or, I guess like for every 2 accounts, maybe it's 1, or every 3 accounts, maybe it's 1. We could see this drop off and actually be below 100,000 consistently. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now, but I would love to get your perspective on this. If you've been following along, maybe you know some of the larger bot owners, maybe you are a large bot farmer yourself. What is the conclusion that you would draw from this? Am I on the right track? Am I on the wrong track? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out where the game is headed to from this standpoint. And again, this is not to say like I think bad things are happening within the game. I think this is actually really healthy for the game, and it's showing that people are starting to combine cards and play at the higher levels. The one dashboard I would love to have, and I know there's no consistent place that has this, is how many accounts are playing at each league and how has that changed or fluctuated over time. So obviously we don't have that data, but my guess or my bet would be that we're starting to see more teams, more accounts start to push up to the higher levels because it's just way more profitable, and or the amount of like reward cards you earn is just way better for the long run, right? So play in gold, play in diamond, play in champion if you can, even if you're botting the accounts, because you just get way more over time. So, this is what we're seeing now. Like I said, I was tracking this for the last week and seeing the spikes here, but not the spikes on the battles. And now that we're seeing a massive upturn here, but no massive upturn in the battles, I am very curious to know what will happen in the future. But like I said, my guess is that we are going to see more account consolidation happen, which in a way is going to be fantastic for the ecosystem as a whole. But even more importantly, for people thinking that there's like too many cards out there. I mean, this is going to start to dry up a lot of the cards at the lower accounts, which would actually make it even more difficult for bot farms to come in, because the rental, the rental listing fee that's coming up, as well as a lower amount of like 1 BCX cards just available because we're starting to soak them up and play them at the higher levels, or combine them and play them at the higher levels, means that, exploits at the lower levels are no longer really profitable. And therefore, if they're drying up now, it would take something massive, like a massive flaw or exploit in the game in the future, for them to come back in the way that they did before. So I would say that this is actually awesome. I'm really excited for this because there was no way that we ever had like 500,000 real people. I mean, maybe we did during the bull run. Maybe we had 500,000 people come in and actually check out the game, which is really cool. But ultimately, most of them didn't end up staying. And now we really just have the hardcore people who love the game for what it is, love the community, and are in this for the long run. So that number being at, I don't know, anywhere between like 80 to 100,000 accounts, again, not people, but 80 to 100,000 accounts, makes a little bit more sense to me than where we've been over the last couple of, maybe the last year or so. So I'm curious to get your thoughts. Do you think this is more account consolidation happening? If the account consolidation continues, where do we land, right? I'm curious to know where we would land in like a month or two, because I think that things are going to be relatively quiet for Splinterlands especially over March. I know there's going to be a lot of fanfare for people who are here, but in terms of bringing in new players, I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. We'll see how successful Nifty is, but even then, it's only like 1,000 decks per month, which again is great, but we'll see how many people come in or how many people stick around. My point with all of that being that if we do see massive increases in the player base, it will probably be later on in the year, because the effects need to be felt first, right? Card supply needs to shrink, DEC supply needs to shrink, SPS supply needs to shrink, and then all of a sudden we start to see asset values go up, and that's what attracts people in. But for now, I think it could be quiet March, quiet April, right, in terms of new people coming in, and therefore we could actually see this number level out or normalize at a much lower place, right? Again, I'm thinking like between 80 to 100,000. The lowest that we've ever seen in a single day so far is 83,000. So that's kind of why I had that benchmark of 80,000, but who knows how low it can go. But I am all for accurate data, and I would love for it to be not that this data is inaccurate by any means, but I would love to get a better idea of where, the player base is really at, whether that's just one player or several accounts that they might be running. But as long as, we're removing a lot of the bottom feeders, I think that this is going to be a great move in the future, or great move for the future and the long term of the game. So that is all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.